I'm going to record over the one that we just recorded where you were muted.
And I am currently unmuted, and we are testing to see the consistency because there's not going to be any change in this podcast. There's not going to be any tears.
No singing.
No dancing.
No crying.
No popping the top on a non-alcoholic sparkly drink.
No screeches of delight.
No, hey, whiskey, get over in your seat.
No snaps.
Nope, none of that.
And only one clap.
Just one clap.
Incredible.
Because we're, if anything, consistent.
And professionals.
Okay, so now what I was thinking is we should clap.
We should clap.
1, 2, 3.
Hi, I'm Maggie.
And I'm Amanda.
And we're sisters. In law. We're watching Suits one episode at a time.
It's a show so nice, I've watched it twice.
And a show so great, I'm watching it late.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
Maggie's never seen it and Amanda's obsessed. They don't wear fancy suits, they are casually dressed. They are sisters-in-law and they got a show about a law firm drama that aired a few years ago. Only Suits fans, only Suits fans. Only Suits fans, only Suits fans. Only Suits fans, only Suits fans.
This is Season 6, Episode 9, The Hand That Feeds You, and Season 6, Episode 10, PSL.
Great episodes.
These were great. I have so many things, because I wasn't sure when you were watching it, and there were a couple of times where, like, I gasped because I forgot, and then a couple of times where I was, like, laughing out loud at things that should not be LOL'd. And I was like, I wonder if Maggie laughed at that.
Okay, I want to know too. I want to see what moments these were when we're getting to it.
When we get to them, I was thinking then we would talk about it.
Good,
because that's kind of how it works.
We do.
All right, did you brief it?
I briefed it.
Let's do it. Is it your turn to do the brief?
It is my turn to do the brief.
Because I forgot.
No, it's my turn.
Okay, let's hear it.
An end to Frank Gallo terrorizing Mike. An end to Mike's term in prison. An end to Leonard Bailey being seen as a murderer. An end to Pearson Spectre lit? While all of these ends alone are significant, Jessica Daddy Pearson leaving the firm feels particularly devastating? What am I even supposed to write for this brief? I'll keep it brief. Jessica is gone, but not forgotten, and hopefully not gone forever. Also, Cameron Mike Brady Dennis appears in episode 9, and it was nice to see a familiar foe.
That's a great brief. I, as some of you know, recently found and fell in love with The West Wing.
Yes.
And finished it. And happy to talk about it with anybody who wants to talk about it. And
slide into our DMs.
Slide into our DMs. And Maggie will probably respond. I'll eventually get to it. And you came over one night to hang out with me, kind of late one night, and you watched like an episode of The West Wing with me. And was Cameron Mike Brady Dennis in it, or did you say who is the VP? Because they were like talking about it. I was like, oh, Maggie, it's Cameron Mike Brady Dennis, and you gasped.
I did.
It's a much younger one, a very fresh face, very Mike Brady. It's fun to see him again because I just missed him from The West Wing because he has a pretty big role. It's not like he has a guest spot for an episode.
Right.
I mean, he has a pretty big role.
He's the vice president.
One of them.
One of them.
I mean, the show goes on for 7 years.
Yeah, so you have to have multiple vice presidents.
Do you? I don't know.
Not always.
You got to watch it.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Only Sorkin fans. All right.
Season 6, episode 9, before the credits.
Yes.
Lewis is laying in a mud bath. He is mudding, and he is thanking someone for coming mudding with him. And he's just talking about the Joshua, Tara, whole debacle. And he's talking to Donna. Donna has gone mudding with him. She's actually wearing a white bikini top, which I think is interesting, to go into brown mud.
Whitney texted me, holy nipples.
Her nipples hanging out?
Because the bikini, it's either she has clay nipples underneath there, or it's one of those bikinis that have like built-in nipples. It's very Friends all of season 6.
Oh, I didn't even notice her nipples.
It's just mud and nipples.
I didn't even notice.
And she's wearing that white bikini in the mud.
That's what I was shocked by.
Yeah.
I also don't have like a what?
What are you gonna bleach that?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it like from the spa?
I don't know. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't have a super high definition TV, so maybe the nipples weren't as definitioned for me.
Did you watch this with Kyle?
No.
That's why you didn't notice it.
Oh, if I was watching with Kyle, he'd say, holy nipples.
Yeah, because if you have a low definition TV, I feel like a guy would still be like,
what's going on with the nipples?
They're cartoonish.
Really?
I'm fine with it. Girl, rock it. Do what you want. But they feel cartoonishly nipple.
Okay, I thought about, speaking of cartoonish nipples, Kim Kardashian Skims has the nipple bra.
That's what this was like.
Okay, do you think I should get the nipple bra?
Do you want...
That's what I wonder.
Do you want that?
But like,
do you want when you like go pick up the kids for school, it'll be like...
Her nipples are perfect. That's an email from someone saying, get the nipple bra.
Yeah, if you want people to think, gosh, her nipples are perfect. Is that what you want?
Yeah, I just think I don't know. Well, now that I know people notice nipples.
Should I do that when I'm like going to a speaking event? Should I have that on?
I think you should go when you're in Europe in the summer.
And just do that? Be nips out?
Yeah. I mean, nips covered, but perfect nipples.
Would I have to wear a bra?
No, it's the nipple bra. It's a bra that pushes it up and has fake nipples on it that are in the perfect position.
Oh, man.
So it's like, oh my God, that woman, her body, her nipples.
But people already say that anyways.
So why would you spend $60 on a nipple bra?
Right. When
That's
I'm basically a walking nipple bra.
Yeah. Okay.
Can't wait to share this one with the folks at work.
Okay. Well, anyways, with her nipples and all her glory, she pretends she's been sleeping for the last half hour, or maybe she really was, but she also already has a total plan for him. He needs to go do something boring, mundane, but just to get his mind off of something because he is spiraling. He is obsessing.
Yes. Harvey tells Mike that he needs to sit down. There's a problem with his release. It's going to be a few days, and Rachel doesn't know, which means he's not going to because Rachel didn't even know how long it was going to be until he got out, so he didn't want to bother with it. But we're a little bit delayed, which was interesting because you had said in the last episode you were very nervy about this, meaning that's short for nervous.
Yes.
Same syllables, but cuter. And you were nervy about it, so you had a reason to be nervy.
Yeah, so something's gone awry.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rachel, we then see her. She's going to see Jessica, and Jessica congratulates her on getting Mike out. Like, wow, you did it. And then she says she has a way to reopen the Bailey trial. Mm-hmm. And Jessica looks at what Rachel's prepared, and she goes, there's no precedent. And Rachel says, but there is, because I am the best researcher ever.
Yes.
So Turner versus the state of Michigan. And Jessica goes, okay, well, I'm going to go bring this because you might be the best researcher, but I'm the one who drops the hammer.
She's Jessica Daddy Pearson.
Jessica Daddy Pearson.
Kevin Miller talks to Mike about Cahill seizing all of his and Jill's assets. And like, these are even ones before like their time, before the insider trading. And he says that Mike has got to stop it. He's like, you got to figure this out, dude.
Yeah, you told us to take this deal, and now we're losing everything.
Then we hear our favorite song.
A greenback boogie. In prison.
Yes.
Frank stops Harvey to talk about his hearing because it's tomorrow at 2. And Frank Gallo wants to talk about strategy as Harvey's walking out. But Harvey's like, I don't really care to talk about strategy. And they kind of get into a little tiff about how like they got to make this work. And Gallo says, oh, by the way, I'm going to need a nice suit for my hearing.
You're the dandy. I'll let you pick it out.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. And then we see Donna, and she is reminding Harvey that Gallo is actually a sociopath, and you cannot let that guy out. Remember what happened all those years ago when we were at the DA's office? She suggests that he just string Gallo along for like a few more hours. That way he doesn't have to go through with it. He said, I can't because Mike's deal isn't going through right now. He's not getting out today.
Yep.
So like every minute that Mike is in there unprotected.
Serious problem.
B&B. Bad news bears.
Cameron, Mike Brady Dennis, then comes to visit Harvey at his home in his apartment. And he's like, we got to talk about this murdering piece of shit that you're suddenly trying to get out.
Yes.
And Harvey is like, hey, I have to, you know? And Dennis actually has a tape of Gallo admitting to killing all the people, but it was not admissible when the first trial happened. And Harvey says it's not admissible now. And Cameron, Mike Brady Dennis says, I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep Gallo behind bars. So catch me at the hearing.
Yep. Mike calls Cahill about the assets. Cahill will be damned if he lets her live high on the hog. He's talking about Jill's assets. Then Mike talks to Kevin in the kitchen by the beans.
Big,
by the
huge
beans.
jar of beans.
Your dream.
I love beans.
There's baked beans.
I'm
Maggie's
assuming they're baked beans.
Super excited. Depot, is there a bean you don't love?
And not a huge fan of black eyed peas.
That's right.
But that's it.
We get them to, we have you tuck them into something on New Year's Day so that you can still have your luck.
Right.
Yeah. Mike says he may not be able to fix the money situation, but Kevin needs to tell him what the deal was that Cahill offered him to turn on Sutter. And Kevin's like, I have never spoken to Sean Cahill in my entire life.
Which felt like a big reveal.
Yeah. Mike's like, WTF?
What? So, like, you're in prison because you didn't talk to Cahill, but you've never talked to Cahill?
Crazy. It's crazy.
So then Mike is in the library and a guard comes in to see him. And he calls him a rat for being a snitch, for being an informant. And Gallo interrupts and he's like, hey, guard, like I told you to leave him alone. I'm trying to be a hero. And Mike recognizes that this is all a ploy.
He's like, it's basically game recognizes game.
Yeah, he's like, you're trying to trick me. Like, no, this is not real.
Yeah.
Basically, everyone in prison, from the guards to Mike to the warden to everyone.
Everybody.
Great actors.
Actors acting.
Actors acting like great actors.
Oh my gosh.
Like regular people acting. Yes. But they could all come out of prison and get a job if this was real life.
Yes. So then Harvey and Gallo are at the hearing and they watch Cameron Dennis walk in. Meanwhile, Mike goes after Cahill on abuse of power filing. And it is still mind-boggling to me that Mike's like, you know what? I'm going to take on a new client while I'm sitting back here in cell number 37 or whatever.
Unreal.
It's crazy.
And he needs Kevin to get out of prison. He needs Cahill to do that. So he's just like continuously asking Cahill for all these favors. Like he's in the driver's seat.
Yes.
Then we cut back to Frank Gallo.
Yeah.
And he is not denying what he did.
No.
He gets up and he's like, I did some bad things, but I am a changed person.
Yeah.
And I will never, ever go back to being that person. Great performance again.
Yes. Back to Mike. Cahill tells Mike his deal is gone.
Not getting out.
Not getting out.
Then back to Frank. Harvey says Cameron, because Cameron walks in, obviously, and Harvey's like, he can't play that tape. And Cameron instead reads the transcript of Harvey's own words talking about Frank Gallo and how he's a sociopath murderer who will never change. This is from his time when he was trying to get Frank Gallo into prison.
This is like the receipts, proof, timeline.
Super awkward.
Yeah, it is. Then we're back to Mike. Cahill says Mike can't be practicing law in prison, which we've noted.
Reminder.
And him working all these deals is going to get him even more prison time if he doesn't back the F off. Yeah. He doesn't say F, but I think he's thinking it, and he probably also wishes he had some crunchy chips to just crunch in Mike's ear.
Yeah, oh, that would be such a good exclamation point.
Oh, and a
back off.
Bleh.
Back to Frank Gallo's parole board. They need to know if Harvey is being blackmailed. And Harvey says, no, I'm not. That's not true. And the head of the parole board says, okay, well, you're going to have to say that under oath tomorrow. So I want you to think long and hard about what you're saying right now. Because tomorrow, you're under oath.
Yep.
Everything is crumbling. I loved this little sequence.
Yeah. It's a lot. I thought about this with you. I thought you.
Did you laugh during this?
I didn't laugh during this. I laughed during something else coming up, which was just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I don't know if it was actors being good actors or not. Mike and Harvey meet in prison and they have to update each other. You know, it's like, hey, what's going on? What's your update? Let's circle back. What have you been working on? Can I get the meeting minutes? And Harvey doesn't care if Cahill takes Kevin's house apart brick by brick. And he tells Mike that Gallo might not be getting out. Yikes, right? So Mike can't leave Gallo in prison with Kevin alone, right? Nope. So Mike says Harvey needs to do the right thing. But, like, Mike can't stay there.
No.
He's going to stay there to be a bodyguard? Like, that's, like, also unpredictable.
Right,
woof.
Yeah, this is bad news.
Yeah.
So Harvey then sees Cahill at the bagel stand. And Cahill doesn't trust that Mike is going to drop the suit. Harvey's like, he's just doing this, but once he gets out, it's not going to happen. And Cahill's like, why would I ever believe that? No, I'm not buying that. He risked literally everything to get Mike out of prison. And now he's like, oh, Mike wants to bite the hand that feeds him. I'm going to take away his dinner. Woof, woof.
Take away that dinner, crunch, crunch. Harvey goes to see Cameron Mike Brady Dennis to show him a 3-year surveillance agreement with the best detective agency in the state. He's going to have Gallo followed. Harvey tells Dennis that Mike might not be getting out. Dennis does not want to cross the lines to let Gallo out, which is crazy. But he said, it's like, hey, it's different because when I crossed the lines, it was to put bad guys away. Now, I'm not going to cross the line to get a bad guy out.
Exactly.
He tells Harvey to convince Mike to do the right thing because that's what he's doing with Gallo.
Yeah, what he's doing is wrong with Gallo.
Yeah, he's finally like, I'm the bigger man. I'm going to do the right thing in this situation.
Which is funny because Mike's like, Harvey, do the right thing. And then Cameron, Mike Brady Dennis is like, tell Mike to do the right thing.
Oh, my God.
Everyone's got to do the right thing, but what is right?
His former mentor and his current mentee.
Oh,
what do you do?
Then we see back at the parole board hearing, Cameron, Mike Brady Dennis calls Mike Ross as a witness. He is not going to play the tape. He is a witness, and it is Mike Ross, which is a surprise to everyone.
It's crazy.
Can I get a witness? He is not sworn in, I noted. So at first I was like, he could just
Because they said it's not necessary. He goes, do you want to be sworn in? And he goes, it's not necessary.
Yeah, but why is that
I don't
necessary?
know. I don't know the logistics on that.
It felt like important.
Yeah.
Mike then tells the whole room all of the shit that Frank did in prison, and then that Frank tried to kill him on the second night, and then the parole board says, Harvey, can you refute any of this testimony under oath? And he goes, I cannot. So he tells Frank to come after him, not Mike. Harvey's like, don't go after him, come after me. And Mike says, actually, I don't need to hide for you because turns out I'm getting out today and there's nothing you can do about it.
Boo-boo. Harvey follows Cameron, Mike Brady Dennis out of prison to see what he did.
And he's not happy.
No. Harvey says Mike isn't going to be safe behind bars or out of them because Gallo can find him anywhere. And Cameron says he knew what he was getting into.
Yeah, he did this on his own accord.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to protect Mike.
Yeah.
So Mike tells Kevin that he got him out. Like, Kevin is getting out and Mike is getting out. That's part of the deal that Cameron, Mike Brady Dennis, and Cahill worked out. They pack up their cell. They're having all these memories, and they just, like, cannot believe that they're getting out.
I'm coming home.
I'm coming home.
Tell the world we're both coming home.
But then the guard comes and says, not both of you, only Kevin. I'm just here to take Kevin out.
Plot twist.
Oy, oy, oy.
All right, so then Harvey goes to see Cahill. Mike called Cahill to put his deal off until the morning because he's got a plan, and he couldn't say anything because he knew Harvey would try and stop it. He's like, and now we're both going to need to cooperate to make this happen. And so Gallo goes to see Mike in his cell alone, and he comes at Mike with a knife.
Obviously.
Right? And Mike has been filming the whole thing, and a guard who is not on Gallo's side comes in to save the day. Mike laughs. Like a little psycho. This is the scene where I laughed because I was like,
what is going on?
I laugh every time I watch it. It's not funny to laugh at somebody to attempt murder. I want to note that for the listeners.
Yes.
What I'm laughing at is just like, this is what Mike has, he's like thrown up a little like Ring doorbell cam, right?
Yes. To the guard.
To the guard. Somehow he has, it's also like, I'm thinking of, if he can't get a cell phone in there, but yet he's able to get a camera that's connected to guards that aren't connected to Gallo,
right?
What is happening here?
Literally, I mean, he must have used Cahill and Cameron, Mike Brady Dennis, and the warden to set it up. But then they're like, cool, yeah, we'll film a potential murder. Also, the knife that Frank Gallo had is like a 12-inch knife. Like it's so
a
big.
Dagger.
It's a machete.
Yes, it is a machete.
And a guard comes and takes Gallo away, and then just the way Mike like laughs, like hee hee hee.
Yeah.
I was like, this man is a narcissist.
Yes.
He crazy.
He crazy.
Harvey goes to visit Gallo in solitary, which is where he belongs, and Harvey tells him, "You're going to go back to Max." And every single inmate in maximum security prison knows that you are an informant, so you're just ticking time bomb. And he says, or here's another option. You can stay at Danbury for 5 more years, but Mike cannot have one hair on his pretty little head messed with.
Right.
Or you are going to Max.
Yep.
And then the door just slams.
Mike walks out of Danbury in his wedding suit, right? Back into Harvey's care, and it worked. Rachel gets out of the car, slow motion walk to hug and kiss. They're so happy. This is so Ocean's 11. This is so Julia Roberts waiting for George Clooney with Brad Pitt there, you know.
Crane shot.
Yeah, like, and also, I'll note this now, I'm not spoiling it if you've seen the next episode, but like, Rachel gets out and she's like looking all sultry and the wind's blowing her and she looks like very mature and it's a very sexy, fun look for her. In the next episode, she's just like, looks like a tiny meek mouse up against Leonard Bailey and Jessica Pierce. Like, and when she's sitting in the courtroom, when they're like, when she gets to go, it's like, it's a very different Rachel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's when she's in her comfort zone versus when she's not.
Yeah. Outside the doors of Danbury Prison.
Yeah. So doors open on the outside world. And Leonard Bailey's case, we're going to talk about that. Jessica goes to see Leonard Bailey's former public defender, Georgina, to give her a chance to fix all of this mess. She can testify for what Maria said when she was alive, which is enough grounds to reopen the case. Jessica gives her the hammer, like she said she was going to, and makes Georgina sign an affidavit saying that Maria said she was with him and that they didn't commit it. So then Jessica takes that affidavit, and basically she tells this attorney, Georgina, she's like, I'm not trying to like say you were a bad attorney, but this is just how to right a wrong. Yeah. Then they go, Rachel and Jessica meet with the judge for the Bailey case, and Rachel says actually Georgina was an inadequate representation. So
it's like a big accusation in the world of law.
Yes, and the judge says as much, but Jessica stands by her, and they said, well, if you could get a successful attorney to admit such a huge blunder, then yeah, that is grounds for reopening the case. So I feel like they kind of tricked Georgina here.
A little bit, but Georgina didn't do a good job. The prosecutor on the Bailey case comes to visit Jessica. He says, 7 years, take it or leave it. They have 24 hours to decide. And Jessica says the best she's going to do is get Bailey exonerated, and she has to present this offer. So Jessica then goes to see Rachel in her apartment. Looks like she's looking around a lot, a little judgy, probably thinking this is too small for me. And Rachel doesn't think 5 years sounds fair. She's like, 5 more years for a crime he didn't commit. She's like, yeah, but like we may not get him off. And Jessica doesn't think Rachel has been practicing law long enough to make this call, and that they need to walk into prison unified front, same page, like we're the same voice for PSL trying to help you out, because Jessica knows like this is not a slam dunk.
Right.
Juries are unpredictable.
Yes.
As we know.
So Rachel, instead of just taking Jessica's word, calls Mike in prison.
Like he doesn't have enough to deal with.
Yeah, but she's like, I need your help talking about this Bailey deal. And he's like, hey, you just got to follow your gut. And she asks him, okay, but I need you to tell me what it's like to be in prison.
Okay. This bothered me so much because what Mike is in prison for and where he is very different than Leonard Bailey being in prison and on death row.
Yes.
Knowing when his like execution date is.
Yes.
And also everybody's lived experience is different.
Yeah.
And Mike's getting out.
Mike, what's it like to be in a minimum security prison knowing that you're getting out in the next 24 hours?
Right, as opposed to somebody else who was convicted of murder, right? Who didn't do it and also has a sentence date.
Yeah. Rachel. So Jessica and Rachel meet with Mr. Bailey, and he's not so sure about the 5 years and keeping the conviction. Mostly keeping the conviction because he
wants to clear his name.
Innocent.
Yeah.
So he's not doing this just to stay alive. He wants his kids to know he's innocent. He wants to know what Rachel thinks, too, because Rachel's been very quiet.
Yeah.
So she goes, well, I think you should fight it. And so he's like, great, that's what I'm going to do. And Jessica is so pissed. And she calls Rachel naive. And she says, playing the odds is not the same as not caring. And she tells Rachel about the time that she has once before fought for a death penalty case. And she lost. And it completely ripped her to shreds. And so they've got to fight to give him something worth living for.
Yep. Jessica visits Leonard Bailey without Rachel, and she brought his daughter to visit. So he thinks that Jessica only did this because that would convince him to take the deal, but Jessica didn't even tell her about the deal. She just told her that they found evidence that says he is innocent, and...
I thought that the daughter with, like, her blowout kind of looked like a smaller Rachel.
Yeah, maybe.
Like younger Rachel.
Yeah, maybe.
No.
Yeah. Last up in this episode.
Oh, my gosh. Lewis and Tara. So we start the episode and Lewis is like just talking all about Tara and Joshua and all of this. And Lewis is just totally terrified to come home. Donna tells him the Jack story.
Okay.
And the Jack story is about, I don't even remember what the Jack story is.
It's like this guy who gets a flat tire on the side of the road, and he was like, oh, I need a jack. So he starts walking, and he sees a house that has a light on it. It's like, what if those people don't let me in? What if they do let me in, but they want to charge me? What if they charge me, and then the jack is broken? What if the jack is broken, and then by the time he gets to the door and they open it, he's like, never mind, I don't want your jack. And it's basically a real long, kind of dumb story about borrowing trouble. Like, you can't control that. You
Making
cannot.
Assumptions.
You have to trust her. Because there's no way why are you trying to make all these assumptions and not trust her when you don't know? Like, you gotta just chill.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, Dana. Have you met anybody in the world?
Like, literally, this is human nature to do, but Lewis does it particularly well.
Yeah.
He climbs that ladder
And he also tells everybody.
And he's like, I'm done. And he gets to a 10 before.
Yeah.
He doesn't like, ooh, wishy-washy think about it. He's like, no, this is cemented.
Yeah.
So he decides he's going to just wait for her to call. She doesn't call. She actually just comes to see Lewis in his office, and she gives him an update. Joshua did come to town because she had told him about the two of them, and he asked her to marry him. And she told him that she couldn't marry him while she felt this way about another man. The other man being Lewis Litt. She turned down the proposal from Joshua.
Tara is out there playing the field.
Tara is
as an architect, she is designing lots of different relationships in different cities, and they're structured very differently. It's very interesting.
She is someone that she's an enigma to me. I don't fully understand her.
Yeah, I don't either.
But they smooch.
They do.
Rolling into episode 10. PSL.
Okay. So many shot glasses lined up. I don't know if they're shot glasses, but more just like whiskey tasting glasses, right? I think I'll take my whiskey neat. That's a hard one.
That is hard.
But as the vocalists that we are, I think we still tackled it.
Got it.
Everybody knew what song we were doing.
We take a challenge on.
Yeah, we did take it on. Okay. So they have this like flight of whiskeys to taste, and I keep saying that, and then you know what? Your nephew is over here going crazy because that's his name.
That's my name.
That's my name. Don't wear it out. So Mike's out there having this celebratory, whiskey tasting. Harvey gives Mike an offer, and it's to come back and be a consultant at PSL,
which he should have been
the entire time.
The entire freaking
all they had to do is hire this guy to be a consultant.
What?
Well, then we wouldn't have had the show.
Heck.
We wouldn't have had the show.
I know, but it's just like these
shoulda, coulda, woulda. Hindsight's 2020.
Oh my god.
So he gives him the same amount of money that he would be getting as
a junior partner.
Right. Which is like insane. He's like, I got to think about it. I wasn't going to do this because I said I had a gift and I threw it away, and I meant that. So.
Flashback then to baby Jessica. And by baby, I mean she's a teenager. Not
a daddy.
Yeah, not a daddy.
Yeah.
A papa. Papita. And Jessica is hearing her parents fight in the kitchen about money and her dad's lack of presence in the family and how he's just married to his work. And she learns that they are actually going to be taking a break because all he cares about is work. Yeah. Work.
Sounds familiar.
Work.
Present day Jessica takes a breath before she confidently goes to meet with Harvey. He thanks her for Mike. He's like, thank you so much. And then Robert Zane interrupts to say Jim Reynolds, their first client, is shopping for a new attorney. And he's not looking to pounce, but everyone else is. And Jessica says Harvey needs to tell Jim Reynolds they're back on their feet. And she can't go see him because she has the death row trial getting started. So, you can't look uncaring. Like, she can't look uncaring.
In the death row incident.
Yeah.
This is bad news.
Yeah, and then we hear our favorite song.
Say out a piece of pie for your wife. I just went with a different lyric.
That's fine. It's fine.
Those are the only two lyrics I know.
That's okay.
After the credits, there's really just two storylines here. One is about Jessica trying to balance this death row and the death of her firm, potentially. Yes. And the other is a very quick one.
Yes.
Tara is pregnant.
Yeah, another plot twist here. Again,
oh my gosh.
This girl's really keeping us on our feet. Yeah.
She's not in much, but she comes to the office and she has a doctor's appointment and she tells Lewis it's because I'm pregnant and it's Joshua's baby. And he doesn't even care. He's like, I'll do this. I'll be the daddy. Let's do it. Let's get ready to go.
Daddy lit.
Yeah. And she's like, actually, you should go home and you should sleep because that's a huge responsibility.
Yeah. And he's reacting the way he does, like so quickly. So then we see Tara. She's putting Post-it notes up on a map of the city. Right when Liz comes in, looks like she's doing some kind of like design thinking workshop, but in architecture, like just
herself.
Yeah, and then Lewis visits her to say that he could not sleep because he wants to be with her and her unborn baby. He's like, I want to do this, but I can't do this until you answer a question for me. Will you marry me? And she says yes. She's so thrilled, and then she's like even more thrilled when she sees the ring. It's like, were you in this just for that like 4-carat oval diamond? Like what?
It's just wild. She was with Joshua for 3 years. She's with Lewis. I mean, I can't think. How many dates have they had? 5?
That we know of? Just a few. Maybe not even. I don't even know that there's been 5.
It's like they met. He did something totally creepy by buying an entire house in the Hamptons and lying to her. And she's like, yeah, I'll marry you. While I'm pregnant with someone else's baby? This is a mess. This is a soap opera.
It's such a soap opera. Jessica Pearson's conflicting cases. All right. So Harvey tells Donna that he needs Lewis. Lewis has also had an emergency meeting with the client. Donna says Harvey does not have time to wait for Lewis, but Lewis says he needs him to make it work with Reynolds.
Harvey's like, I'm going to need him if it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But can't have what you want always.
Right.
Georgina, meanwhile, in the other case, confronts Rachel and Jessica on the street, and she is pissed that she has been subpoenaed. Because she was like, subpoenas.
Yes.
She's pissed about the subpoenas. She signed the affidavit, and she's like, and now you're dragging me into this? I'm going to get up there and be like, be bad. I'm going to be a bad
I'm going to be bad. I'm going to be a baddie.
I'm going to be a baddie.
Harvey then goes to talk to Jim Reynolds about keeping his word. And there are rumors that Harvey tanked William Sutter's case. Not a rumor, totally true.
Totally true.
And Donald Manis, who is head of the board, is like, we got to, Pearson Spectrolate, y'all are out. Jim Reynolds, you're out. William Sutter's story adds up to him.
And it should.
It should, because it's
true.
They can't have an attorney who is willing to turn on his own client. But it's also like, but it's William Sutter. But anyways, the only thing that would have changed this is if Jessica or Lewis had come to see him and not Harvey, because he don't like Harvey.
Yeah,
but like he does like Jessica and Lewis.
Yeah. And you know what? It is William Sutter's, but you can't have your attorney deciding if you are worthy of being defended.
Yeah.
So that's why this is a problem. Jessica then asks permission to treat Georgina as a hostile witness on the grounds that they had this encounter on the street, and she said, I'm going to be a baddie. And the judge says, yeah, sure, that's fine. So she interviews her, and then it's like she didn't go after him. She kind of makes her look like a bad attorney. Mm-hmm. And the prosecutor asks Georgina, in your estimation, did you think Leonard Bailey was innocent? And she says no, she thought he was guilty. Hard to have a lawyer.
Dude, that's real hard. Then Lewis's emergency meeting was because of Harvey. Jensen Analytics is also threatening to walk because of Harvey. They need Jessica to do something about Reynolds. Like, if we can get Reynolds to stay, then it is a nice vote of confidence to the rest of these firms. But Rachel is, like, back at the apartment. She's super tired, and Mike comes in to comfort her. She's so worried because Georgina had said, I thought he was guilty. Mike says to put Leonard on the stand. Give the jury a reason to let him go.
Right, because he's innocent.
He's like, that's what they did with me. It's like, okay, well, Mike, you're a little bit more polished and know what to expect on the stand.
Right.
As opposed to Leonard Bailey.
Yeah, he's like, they did it with me and I was guilty. And he's innocent. And I'm like, Mike, you're a serial liar.
These are not the same. One of these kids is not like the other. One of these kids is doing his own thing.
Harvey then tells Jessica, hey, we have a problem. And the only thing that can keep Reynolds is actually to shut Sutter up, is what Jessica says.
Yeah, shut him up.
Shut him up.
Put some mouth tape on that guy.
Yeah.
Depot. Have you ever used mouth tape to sleep?
When you sleep so that you breathe through your nose?
Yeah.
No. I've heard that that's not a real thing.
I've heard a lot of that too. I'll try anything for like good sleep.
You know what I've found myself doing? Is like when I see a reel or a TikTok with something that sounds like, wow, this is a miracle, I go to Reddit and I search about it.
Yeah.
And Reddit is honestly a very good source of honest feedback.
Yeah, I find myself when I'm looking at things that seem like a miracle, what I usually do is go read all of the reviews that are probably rigged.
Yeah.
That get you to go 4.9 out of 5 stars.
Right.
And then I buy 2.
Yeah, because on Reddit even people will be like, look at this person's profile. They only comment positively about this product. They are from the company. Like, it lets you know.
Okay, I'm going to start doing that.
You need to start doing that.
Saving myself some money, because then I wouldn't have all these different blankets and neck pillows and grounding sheets and moon brew and everything to have restful sleep. Last night I went to bed at 1.
So, an improvement?
Ooh, from 1:30. Yeah.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah.
Probably because, like, in bed, you're like, how do I get to sleep? And then you're finding all the reviews.
That's what's happening. I'm literally buying these in bed.
Yeah, at 12:30.
Yeah.
So then in the courtroom for Leonard Bailey, he actually gets to meet Mike. And Jessica says, listen, this is up to you. If you want to say your side of the story, you can get up on the stand. And he says he does want to. And Jessica then moves to have Rachel question Bailey. Because she's like, he feels comfortable with her, let her go. The prosecution's like, this is just trying to be a mistrial. But it's like, no, she's my associate, da-da-da-da-da. So it goes through.
Again.
Rachel gets to question Bailey on the stand for a death row case.
Big deal! Big fucking deal! This is also the scene where I was like, she looks so scared and innocent compared to her, like, halfway straddling that car back at the prison. Harvey goes and pays a little visit to William Sutter at his house. And he said Sutter's property is being seized by the government because it turns out he couldn't use a homestead exemption because he closed on that house before he sold the other one. This is a rookie real estate move. If you had a good real estate agent, Amanda Austin, then you would know this. He said if he doesn't call everyone on Reynolds' board and tell them he lied, then that's what's going to happen to his house. That's a nice house.
It's a very nice house. So I guess Sutter's going to call everyone and say he lied.
Yeah, I guess so.
So Bailey then tells the jury that we're back in the courtroom, and he says, I was high, but I was just trying to help the kids. And he describes the scene that, this boy, he runs over, he hears help, help, help. He runs over, the boy is already dead, and he's like holding this girl. She's yelling for help, and he's trying to stay with her so she's not alone. Then the next thing he knows, he's charged with murder.
Yeah.
And during the scene, I started crying. And I was like, why am I crying? And then I started my period.
Okay, do you want that kept in this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the prosecution calls Victor Forrest, who is the dad of the victim, to the stand. And he is interesting. He takes a stand. He says he will never get a second chance with his family. His daughter never even got a first chance. And Jessica cross-examines him and says, did you ever actually see Leonard Bailey kill your daughter? And he goes, no. And she goes, there's no further questions. I love in a good law procedural in a courtroom when they just ask one question that makes the jury be like, oh, dang.
Everything's invalidated.
Yep.
All of this is like, who cares?
Then we see Sweet Stu.
Oh my gosh, I love Stu.
Don't you?
I do. But he has bad news. He has to give it to Lewis, and he doesn't know how to do it. So she says, you know what, Stu, go approach him the same way you just approached me. Then she goes, and by the way, it's nice having you here. So
she knows what it is.
She knows what it is.
Whiskey stop. Because what are the news? Yeah, she's Donna. Mike and Rachel are in bed. Mike says she was amazing in court, and he says that she would rather have her represent him in court, and that makes Rachel think that maybe the dad of the victim, Mr. Forrest, intimidated Maria so that she wouldn't testify. Like, she gets this brilliant idea.
Just talking about dads.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're better than your dad. And she goes, dads?
Yeah, I'm going to skip real quick to this next part and then come back. So then Rachel and Mike just decided in the middle of the night they're going to go visit Mr. Forrest at his house. Mike tells him the wrong man is sitting on death row because of what he did, because he has bribed Maria and put her in this drug rehab place.
Right. And he denies it for what it's worth.
Then go back to Stu.
Then we cut back to Stu, and he has to tell Lewis that they have to break their lease. And Lewis is like, you can't do that. You can't. And he's like, no, we're getting free rent in another place. And you know just as well as I do that we have a 30-day
It's because Sutter. That's how they're getting it. Oh. Because remember, they helped with it buy-in in order to... And so because Sutter now needs to sell off some...
stocks.
So he's like giving him free rent, like the whole part of the deal. It's a little bit complicated, but it's because of Sutter, which was like a tip off from PSL, but it doesn't matter. Like Stu's like, I can't tell my boss we're not taking free rent right now.
Yeah.
Because rent isn't, I mean, it's cheap here, but it's not that cheap, and we're about to get free rent. Like, I have to do it.
Yeah. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
And dollars.
Yeah. It's a business decision. It's not personal.
And then Lewis is so mad that he throws his former secretary's urn. Right?
No, just a glass. I think it's a coffee mug.
I thought it was the urn.
No, I think it was the new coffee mug that Stu had made up.
Oh, even more sad.
Yeah. Lewis is making some copies. Donna checks in. Lewis tells her that Tara is pregnant, and he says he never goes back on his word. He is going to raise this baby, and Donna's like, hey, that's not true. You go back on your word all the time.
Literally everything you say.
That is your MO.
Yeah.
So don't do something rash. You can't do that. He's like, I would never do that with a baby.
Yeah.
But we don't know that.
We don't know that, but he does, at the end of the episode, go and see her.
That's true.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Mike and Rachel then tell Jessica to break Mr. Forrest on the stand. They're like, hey, you have to do this. Call him up, cross-examine him, and break him. And she says, if we attack the father of the victim and it backfires, we're going to lose this jury. Like, this is a very risky move. But Mike has an idea from a movie, A Few Good Men.
Oh, God.
All these.
I know. Well, he had already done, like... the Dawson and Downey reference when they were sitting in bed. He's like, and then I'd have you represent me every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I mean, like,
yeah,
I've seen that movie a million times, so I knew where he was headed.
You know it.
Donna tells Harvey that Jim Reynolds' board meeting has now been moved up to tomorrow, which happens to be the same day as Leonard Bailey's case. Lewis and Harvey have to visit Jessica in court to tell her. She has to be there. Like, that's the only way to save this. So she asks the judge for a continuance, and the judge says, nope, And so she can either stay or have Rachel take the lead. And Jessica decides to stay because she cannot hang Bailey out to dry. And she recalls Victor Forrest to the stand.
She's going for it. She's going to break him. She's the hammer.
Yep.
But before she does, we see young Jessica visiting her dad in the office. And she tells him, hey, I got into Harvard Law. And he is pissed.
Yeah, my dad was super pissed when I got into Harvard Law. I didn't get into Harvard Law.
Because he's like, you're supposed to be a surgeon because doctors save lives and lawyers are nothing but power-hungry bottom feeders. Wow. Yikes.
Yeah.
And he says that you're just going to get infected with all their lawyer mindset and you're not going to give a shit about your fellow man.
This is funny. When the quote, like, power-hungry bottom feeders, my grandmother, my Mimi, she used to say, whenever she would say about people, she was like, they're a little top of the water. And when you think about what, like, the top of the water is, it's actually pond scum. And so it was like her funny way of saying, and I don't know if that's like an actual like saying, but I've never heard anybody say it but my grandmother, because top of the water sounds like it could be good. But really what she was saying is like the very top of water, like in a lake, is like pond scum. Ugh. And so that's what she meant when somebody was pond scum. And she would say that about people in her retirement center and the nursing home. She's like, they're a little top of the water.
Which sounds a little nicer than bottom feeder.
It does sound nicer than bottom feeder, but to Mimi, that meant you're pond scum.
What a lady. I love Mimi.
Yeah.
What a good Grammy.
Yeah. We're back to present day Jessica.
Yeah, present day Jessica again takes this moment to herself, reflecting on her youth before she cross-examines Mr. Forrest, because she does give a shit about her fellow man.
Yeah.
And she says Maria Gomez's roommate is going to come and testify that he paid for this treatment. And she really is like pressuring him, like really putting it on thick. And he says that's not true because Maria didn't have a roommate, which shows that he knew who Maria was.
Yes.
He knew enough about her that she didn't have a roommate. Yeah. And then he admits it. He admits that he did do that because he didn't want these druggies who killed his daughter to get away with it, but he totally tampered with a witness.
Yes.
And because of this, Jessica immediately gets Mr. Bailey off. Leonard Bailey is a free man, like, right then.
Right.
Case dropped.
Yep. The part of me that like looks at that, I'm like, it's so interesting how Jessica is so good at like separating emotion from this, because she's like, you're free. All I was thinking about is, okay, what's the transition plan for this guy? How are we going to help him? Like getting out, and it's not that easy. And she's just like, go. I mean, like,
I thought the same thing. She's like, now all you have to do is walk out the door. And I was like, but then where does he go?
Yeah, like, is his daughter responsible for this? Like, what's happening? Like, I've learned a little bit about like some of these plans, these like transition plans and all those kinds of things. Like the way that you like set people up for this when they are exonerated or they're out of prison. And like, she's just like, you're free.
Bye.
I'm not even going to give you a pamphlet.
Right.
Like there's a one-cheater. Yeah.
I was like, this poor man is not set up for success.
No.
To go from death row to walking out a courthouse
it's hard.
With like no resources.
Yeah. Where's the change management plan in that?
For sure.
You know? So then Robert finds her out in the hallway and says, hey, that was one hell of a cross. And Robert offers Jessica a merger. He says, look, I know that you tanked Sutter and I know what you're doing for Rachel, but like you got knocked down, and I'm trying to offer you a hand to get you back up again, as our friends Chumbawamba would approve of, right? She's like, I'm so used to having my name first. I can't go to having it last, which is like, sure, but also like, hey, pride, let's get out of the way and save the, like, what's harder on your pride? Moving your name around or not having your name up at all?
Right. But interesting, her choice. Then we see Harvey and Lewis, and they meet with the board at Jim Reynolds' firm, and they introduce the newest, largest shareholder, and it is Stu.
Oh my God.
Here he is.
Love him.
He's like, hey, as the largest shareholder, you have to keep PSL and Jim Reynolds in place. And Harvey then quotes A Few Good Men.
Rachel sips wine in a silky nightgown. Mike brings in a present in a bag that matches her nightgown.
It's like very champagne.
It is. It's a picture of her in the courtroom, which actually I thought was really cute. Even though it's illegal, of course, par for the course for Mike to do something illegal. But I do like that picture.
It's a nice picture too, which is like, how did you get that angle from your cell phone?
Art directing.
I feel like there would be like a head in the way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all kind of unbelievable. Mike tells Rachel that Harvey offered him a job as consultant, and she's like, what are you going to do? And he doesn't know.
There's this great, oh my God, who is it? Who's from Legally? Reese Witherspoon. There's this great video of Reese Witherspoon talking about like what she hates lines of dialogues in movies, and it's when women say, "What are we gonna do?" She goes, "Because when have you ever met a woman in a crisis situation who's like, what are we gonna do?" Like they always have a plan.
Yeah.
So I mean, she is asking Mike like, "What are you gonna do?" But
Yeah.
that just made me reminded.
Interesting. That's true. Women, we know what's up.
We know what's going on. So we see Jessica, and she's sipping tea in another moment of quiet reflection. Harvey and Lewis come in, and they're like, "We saved the firm. Let's celebrate. We did it."
Yeah.
And she looks very solemn.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "It's not my firm anymore because I'm giving it to you, Lewis and Harvey." And Lewis just rips into her. He's like, "You are selfish and self-serving." And Donna interrupts. She goes, "Papa, actually, we all said we were going to focus on this firm, and no one did, because Harvey and I were focused on Mike. Jessica and Rachel were focused on Leonard Bailey. And Lewis, you were focused on Tara and her unborn child.
Yes.
So nothing about this is selfish. We need to congratulate Jessica on this decision to let go."
It was such a weird combo of like a sermon / stump speech from Donna. Like she felt kind of like a politician, also like a preacher, maybe somebody giving the commencement speech at graduation. Like it was just
coach.
A coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But they all cheers.
They
to
do
Pearson.
cheers.
Spectre lit.
Jessica then goes to visit Jeff Malone and tell him she wants to come with him, and she's leaving the firm. She doesn't want to be a corporate lawyer anymore, and he says, "Walk away with me."
So I guess they're going to Chicago.
Well, we do know, not as a spoiler, that at some point, whether it's in the next episode or at some point, that they are going to go to Chicago because there is a spin-off called Pearson.
In Chicago.
Yeah. I've seen it.
I didn't know it was in Chicago.
Yeah.
But okay. Then the very last scene, we see Harvey, and he's staring out as a window, and he pronounces mentor correctly.
Finally.
It's taken 6 seasons, but he doesn't say mentor.
Mentor.
He says mentor. And Donna comes in, and she's like, "Are you going to be okay?" And he says, "I'm going to be okay." And then they both stare out the window, and they hold hands.
Yeah.
This is a lot of responsibility for Harvey and Lewis to take on by themselves.
And together. Because those boys fight like cats and dogs.
Yeah, they need to have like someone at the front of the tricycle. They need to have someone at the front of the tricycle.
They need somebody at the front of the tricycle. You know, when I think about where tricycles can go.
Oh, anywhere.
They can go anywhere. And I was thinking it might be fun if you and I just sit side by side and let the tricycle guide us as we go on down to Prediction Town.
Okay, here we are.
Honk honk.
Meep meep. I was very disappointed that Stu and Jessica are not going to hook up. I will be very sad if Jessica is, in fact, actually written off the show right now. But I guess from you saying there is a spinoff that takes place in Chicago, not in New York, that she might, in fact, be officially gone.
Well, I said at some point.
At some point.
I didn't say, like, this is the last episode.
I know.
I'm not confirming or denying. There is a spinoff called Pearson.
Right, I knew that. I just didn't know
Don't
it
go
was in
look up
Chicago.
what year it started. Because then you'll know when she leaves.
I had assumed it was after Suits ended this whole time.
She might.
Oh my gosh.
She
okay,
might.
well, I hope she comes back, if in nothing else, in flashbacks.
Okay.
I think it is absolutely bonkers that Tara said yes to marrying Lewis.
I know.
I think this is a horrible idea. I think she's only doing it because she's having a baby, and then when she realizes she can raise a baby on her own and she doesn't need this like neurotic Lewis lurking around, that she will end the engagement, and then it will be his second broken engagement. I hope third time's a charm for him. I hope there is a third lucky lady who comes into Lewis's life, because I just cannot see this working out with Tara. Tara feels like such a weird surface character. I can't crack her. Can't crack the code.
Can't crack that egg.
Then with Jessica out of the picture, I'm wondering if Robert Zane's going to do a hostile takeover of the firm and come knocking on the door with his favor for Rachel, because he said that she's going to owe him a favor. And I think also that Mike will work as a consultant, but that will make Harvey and Lewis lose all of their clients, because then the reason that so many of them were leaving in the first place was because they were trying to protect Mike. So, I don't know. This just feels icky. But Mike will weasel his way out of it, as always.
Of course they will.
Of course. They just love Mike so much.
It's interesting, but, you know, they gotta love Mike. He's a big part of this show. I don't know if you know.
I kind of like the whole reason for it.
Yeah, he is the whole reason for the season.
Yes.
Speaking of, we're coming to the end of this season soon.
I can't believe it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
And then we only have 3 more seasons left.
Ah!
And that we'll be 2/3 of the way done.
Oh my God.
And we also have
The next LA
Suits LA coming.
Oh my God.
It's going to be so exciting. We'll be working on what that schedule looks like for all of you who need to pencil this in to your walking, running, ultra running, car listening, whatever it is you do. You know, I actually had to do a little project that involved a lot of PDFs the other day. So I listened to our podcast. This is perfect for PDF work.
This is the best PDF. PSL is great for PDFs.
Like when you are basically, by PDF projects, I mean taking a document and turning it into a PDF.
It's just print PDF.
It's literally what I was doing.
Fabulous.
So it was a great PDF project. And every time I get to see you, which is a lot, not just with this, but just like generally speaking, it's a treat. And I just want to say I'm glad that you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Because if you were listening to last week's episode, which was so wheels off and crazy, like
one of my favorite episodes.
It's probably one of my favorite episodes too. You got progressively sicker.
You can hear me getting more and more congested.
And you still powered through. And I cut it out, but there is a section there where I go, are you getting sicker right now? Like, did you just get sicker in the past 5 minutes? You're like, no. I was like, it's your eyes. It's your, like, you're like, I'm fine. And you
I was not fine.
Very sick by the end of this episode.
Yeah.
And you have been very sick for like a week.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that Maggie's got her groove back.
Yeah, it was rough. It was like, you know, I had this cold and it just sat, instead of coming out my nose, it just sat on my throat.
Which is so rude.
It was so rude. I was like, if I could just blow my nose and get some of this out, but it wouldn't. It was just on my throat, in my ears. It was awful.
It's not where a cold's supposed to be.
No. It's supposed to come out.
Yeah.
But now I'm better.
Now you're better.
And nice to have this wonderful show to, it's like soothing. Like
it's
chicken.
Soothing. It is like
soup.
a lozenge.
Yes.
Ricola.
Ricola.
Thanks so much for tuning in. You can check us out at onlysuitsfans.com. You can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and maybe TikTok. We're not sure. Just check it out. We'll see you in the next few days. Make sure to listen to us on Apple or Spotify, and make sure that you like, subscribe, and leave a review.
And if you're not sure how to start a review, you could start it by saying, this podcast is like coming home. It's like coming home. This podcast OSF is like coming home.
Maggie, those vocal stylings,
Thank you.
they're great.
Thank you. Thank you. I felt good about it.
How long do you think that was?
Oh,
We were talking so fast.
do you think so? Do you think
I
it's like
felt like
50 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
51 and a half.
51 and a half.